Democracy has delivered. And now democracy must be preserved.
In Commitment 2024 now, and on night one of the Democratic National Convention, I should say, President Biden delivered a message in support of the future of the country and of Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee for president.
Also, surprise appearance at the very end by Harris. She took the stage earlier this evening as well. Political Director Adam Sexton live in Chicago for us, keeping track of a very busy and long first day into tonight, Adam.
Well, Steve and Marissa, you hear about conventions past and centuries past. You know, they would announce the nominee and there'd be this cheering and stamping around for 10, 20, 30 minutes. Joe Biden got the modern version of that. He got about a 5 to 6 minute standing ovation from the crowd here, the chants of "We love Joe," the chants of "Thank you, Joe." Really, this Democratic crowd showering him with a lot of love. A moment he really didn't get, as was noted there in the ABC coverage in the 2020 pandemic year. But in his speech, he revisited a lot of the themes we've been hearing Joe Biden talk about since he started campaigning for president in 2019. He brought up Charlottesville, how that motivated him to run for president. And then he ran through a list of achievements in his own administration: the American Rescue Plan, the CHIPS and Science Act, trying to bring back manufacturing jobs, of course, the PACT Act for veterans health care. But then he also talked about the transition and the change to Kamala Harris at the top of the Democratic ticket, saying, "I love my job, but I love my country more." And every time he was talking about we in terms of achievements, he said, "When I talk about we, I'm talking about me and Kamala." He says America is winning. He tried to make the argument that Trump puts America last instead of America first, and he drew that contrast directly between the former president and Vice President Harris.
We made the largest investment, Kamala and I, in public safety ever. Now, the murder rate is falling faster than any time in history. Violent crime has dropped to the lowest level of more than 50 years. And crime will keep coming down when we put a prosecutor in the Oval Office instead of a convicted felon.
And of course, one of the themes that is going on here in the arena and outside the arena is security and the protests that are happening outside over the war in Gaza. There were a few protesters who got up during the speech and they were quickly ushered out. There wasn't a major interruption, but President Biden did give a nod to the difficulty that's going on, saying that his administration is working around the clock to end the war in Gaza. Steve and Marissa, let's go back to you in New Hampshire.